Pay attention, this is not an act. Because of the intense attack of the real-life version of the game, 456 players from all over the world. A joint struggle is enough to change the life of $4.56 million. The show not only perfectly recreates all the classic games in the play, but also does not have to face death. I wonder who doesn't want to participate in such a show. But in order to perfectly recreate the survival environment in the play, the participants not only have to live in a collective dormitory without cover, but also the toilet and bathroom are always under surveillance. Among them, the food is only carrots. Only at night can you get a boxed meal. In addition to a boxed meal, there is only curry rice that looks very ugly. But even so, everyone is still dry, even immediately imitating the end of the beginning of the alliance, but let them never think that even if they have made sufficient preparations. In the first level, 1, 2, 3, half of the wood people were still eliminated, and the previous alliance was unfair, and compared to the joy of the beginning of the game, most people will gradually collapse in every turn. In the end, the psychological defense gradually collapsed, like this curly big sister needs to keep this posture. In the end, after a few seconds of persistence, it completely collapsed and went straight to the ground, and the result was undoubtedly directly eliminated. As time came to the last minute, someone finally rushed to the finish line. It's just that this kind of aftermath didn't make him happy because his companions were still being eliminated in the second and third rounds. But as more and more people rushed through the finish line, the students began to give up. And this kind of atmosphere also affected others in the end. More and more people were eliminated, most of which was this 301 guy, because his mother was still in the field, and as time came to the last 10 seconds, this would be the last time everyone would meet again. Fortunately, at the last second, his mother finally made it through the finish line, and all 6 people in the field were undoubtedly eliminated. This is a real-life version of the Squid game that was just released by Wangfei, which not only perfectly reproduces all the games in the play, but also inherits the human nature of Qi Luo Luo, because the rule of the second level is that the first person in each team to enter the room represents the whole team to choose a shape of sugar. The simplest thing to know is a triangle, and the hardest thing to know is the umbrella. The organizer even asks them to choose in a discussive way. It also represents the other 48 people. Once you compromise to get an umbrella, you're going to be eaten alive by other people. 1 man and 2 women will soon reach a consensus. Once you've chosen a circle, a triangle, and a pentagon, you're going to have to force the curly hair to choose an umbrella, but the curly hair is obviously not going to compromise until the countdown is over. The 4 people on this side were eliminated. The 4 teams of the hedgehog entered the room again, and with the arrow of the front car, the young man proposed to use the race to choose. Although this proposal was recognized by most people and chose a simple pattern, the countdown ended, and the 4 were eliminated again. Now it's the turn of the 3rd team to enter. There is no doubt that almost all of the teammates refused to leave. The only teammate who came forward was still persuading him to stick to it. Never let me. But his weakness let the others grab the opportunity to enter the room, and the other 3 said they would choose in the order of the team. If he doesn't agree, we're going to eliminate him together. And we're not going to care about his opinion, and we're going to go straight to the other pictures. 299 also wanted to make his last effort, but no one listened to him at all. This sentence made the teammates outside of the moment began to speak in different ways, and his request was also very simple. It's just that after they're done, they're going to help their teammates lick sugar. It's just that this kind of request doesn't have any credibility at all. It's naturally approved by others, and he ended up putting his hand on the umbrella. But what made number 299 desperate was that the organizer temporarily increased the rules. This rule also made number 432 show his teeth without any cover, and then the team started to pick sugar. No matter how simple the prototype or the triangle was, some people accidentally pulled it out. The only thing worth mentioning is that number 432, who chose the triangle, has naturally become the hero of the whole team. After the successful pass of this round, the tone of speech began to be obviously arrogant. On the other hand, number 299 of the 4 teams, everyone chose to ignore him, and from time to time there was a curse, and it was obvious that he was completely isolated, and in the process of pulling the umbrella as long as someone was eliminated, he would be nervous, and his face would turn purple and he almost vomited, and it was impossible for him to pass in this state. So in the end, he didn't escape the fate of being eliminated, and there were only 2 of the 49 people in their team who passed. In the end, after this round of elimination, 456 players were left with 119, and the prize pool was increased by $770,000 again. The real man version of the game lied to everyone. They claimed to have perfected all the levels in the reenactment, but in the 3rd level of the High Bridge Tug, they changed it to the Sea of Anger. Those unknown players even had a serious disagreement during the selection. I don't want to be separated from the old and the weak, and in the end, the people who were forced to be together were killed on the spot. But as the team drew out the 2 teams, everyone took a deep breath, the strongest of the 5, but when they saw that it was the Sea of Anger in the competition of IQ, everyone showed their worries. He was so proud of himself to be the captain, because he knew he had played this game and there was a high probability that the captain on the ship would be eliminated. And as the captain and the assistant, the red side was the first to throw out a bullet, 1-3-2. It was also because both of the warships were sunk, and the situation behind them was pretty much the same, except that there was a woman with a super high IQ in the last blue team. As he expected, most of the opponents were in the middle and he only used 2 to find the location of the opponent's warship and sunk the opponent with a sigh of relief. On the other hand, several parties were not hit at all, although the rules are very simple. Each player needs to be eliminated, but the voting is open. Even every player who is voted first will go straight to the big screen, fearing that the other party does not know who voted for him. This has led to a lot of players choosing to follow the top one in order not to offend others. And as the first player to vote, the pressure is naturally the greatest. His strategy is to show weakness, but the way he shows weakness is to pretend to be a small family. As a result, the smart one was turned against the smart one, and of course everyone extended a helping hand. So he was directly voted on the big screen. The following people are really all following the wind, or voting for number 374, or voting for number 161, until this woman with a small penis appears, because she is the star of a small team. So he didn't follow the wind, but insisted on voting for the people they had discussed before, because before this round of voting he suggested that everyone use scissors to decide who to eliminate. The result was hated by the people in the small team, because the people in the team were not afraid of being voted out, so the votes of the people behind were chosen among the 3. Although it was time for number 161 and number 330 to vote, they took revenge and put the old man and the small penis on the screen, but they were too close to the line, and they couldn't go back to the sky. In the end, the 3 of them were eliminated, and on the surface it only took 5 minutes to blow up the orange juice. Everyone gets a reward. But as they blow up the orange juice and hear that the reward is a wild meal with improved food, everyone immediately cheers. You know, they've been eating curry for a week. The curry powder can improve. The food will naturally wash out the forgetfulness. It is not known that this is exactly the supervision of the organizer to use. The organizer of the painting is not too small. Only 2 people eat together. So everyone has to find someone to form a team quickly, because now the total number of 63 people will have 1 person in the air. So people are looking for the closest people to form a team with original biological mother and son. There are also those who have just reached the ground, and those who have just set up the Sea and Mountain Alliance, and in the end, there is only this yellow hair left. Seeing this, everyone should be able to guess that the next level is the most cruel, not to mess with the sugar. But at this moment, the people who are addicted to food have not yet noticed. Until the mother and son found a bag of eggs from the bottom of the basket, the atmosphere gradually followed the discovery of more and more people. The call began to rise and fall, because no one wanted to give up the 4.56 million bonus that would change their fate, even if they were eliminated. And the field and the rules of the game were perfectly replicated. As long as you get out of the game in 20 minutes, it doesn't count as a violation in any way, but if you don't get out of the game, both of you will be eliminated. This is where a very interesting situation occurs. The first to get out of the game are brothers or sisters. It is the most difficult for a man and a woman to get out of the game. Like this pair of partners who used to be as close as father and daughter just entered the field and began to attack each other, because the girl said he could speak the language, but the old man disliked him for not teaching himself. In the end, it was a life-threatening way to win the game. But like this pair of almost double-dealing lovers, the girl should know that the boy would play basketball. So they firmly disagreed with the idea of winning the game, and the boy disagreed with the idea of winning the game. So they stuck to the last 2 minutes and the girl took the lead. But the boy wasn't as good as he thought until the countdown was over and they both only voted for one. And the girl said she was the first to vote, so he should have won himself, but the boy obviously wouldn't agree. What's more interesting is that the mother and son didn't even want to give in. Even the mother was very arrogant and grumpy because she didn't get 10 points. In the end, I could only watch my son get a lot of votes, and then, when my son voted joyfully, I was so angry that I didn't care about the piggy saving money cannot afford to reach 4.25 million. But after so many rounds of the game, almost everyone knows what the number of people represents. As expected, with the return of Wei Shi, the elimination of the new round began again. But what everyone didn't expect was that this time it wasn't the elimination of one person, but 11 people. And the rules were even more disgusting. It was the person who claimed to be the captain who was responsible for appointing a partner to advance. The partner pointed out that when the captain was chosen, everyone was afraid to step forward and was afraid to be eliminated in a high-profile manner. Only 182 stood out without fear. Now it's too late to say anything. Everyone has become a candidate. Gao Yang is looking forward to the captain to choose himself. This 287 is called the Ant. After everyone returned to the room, he consoled the captain and said he was happy to see him again. Now the kindness has been rewarded, but the choice he will face is even more difficult because before the start of this round, the remaining 9 women had gathered together and swore to advance and retreat together. So at this moment, all the other women were very calm, and there was no doubt that this would offend all the women. His life will be very sad in the future. Fortunately, number 286 chose number 254. Since then, the women's alliance began to emerge, although there was a brief gap in the middle, but all the women were selected. With the last player selected, all the remaining 11 people were eliminated. In the real man version, because there is a super shameless person in the game, the level of shamelessness is absolutely rare in this life, because the 4th level is a horrible glass bridge. Of the 2 pieces of glass in Group 17, only one can pass safely. If you choose the wrong one, you will be eliminated. For fairness, the show group let the players decide the order of crossing the bridge by grabbing the doll machine. After all, it is impossible to survive the first few days, and the survival rate of the people after the 10th will increase greatly. This is a fair suggestion that everyone can take turns to go to town, and everyone can only choose once in order. It's also very fair that this proposal was approved by everyone at the time. After all, no one wants to be a cannonball all the time, but the luck of the first 2 is obviously not good enough to disappear without a trace without even standing still. Fortunately, number 3 was very lucky to stand steadily on the glass, which not only gave everyone hope, but also number 4 in the back. But even if this won everyone's applause, but he still couldn't get away with it and was eventually taken away. But when everyone felt sorry for number 5, it was a face of misfortune and joy. So there was no surprise behind it. No matter what you say, he's a dead pig that's not afraid of boiling water. He's not going to keep his promise at all. Look at the time number. 3 can only face his head forward. Fortunately, he is still very lucky. In this moment, he disgusts everyone and accuses him of starting to eat 7 pens in the middle of the night. But Lao He says something extremely shameful. In the eyes of everyone is powerless to persuade. No 3 can only move forward again. But luck will not always stand on his side. But what's more disgusting is at this moment, it is as if in order to verify 1,000 years of revenge, he had no harm, and then it was extremely shameful to ask other people to keep their words. Otherwise, we will waste our time here and take all the people with us. I have no choice but to challenge everyone one by one and express my disgust at Lao He in a selective and indefensible way. And with the fall of the contestants, number 15. The whole glass bridge game is finally over, and everyone comes to the end one by one. Only the old man stands alone in the corner without anyone asking for the time of the past night. Everyone got into a fight with the old man again. After all, the private ceremony wants to go to the end to win everyone over, but someone insists on not staying in the same room and still doesn't have any communication with him. This man is the 287th horse, and with the reappearance of the Wei family, the new round of small games begins again. This time, the remaining 12 players need to vote for the dice and choose one person before voting. Once the number of votes is 6, the chosen person will be eliminated. This time, someone made it fair. That's right. As a former Visa officer, the ant is not allowed to have sand in his eyes. Like the shameless old man, he wants to seize every opportunity to eliminate him. Even so, the people behind are all hypocrites who dare not confront each other at all. They can only choose themselves according to their suggestions. As a result, 3 people committed the 6-point disaster and were eliminated, including the high IQ beauty, Huang Mao, and the Iron Man of the ant. It's a good thing that the result made the ant instantly real, because the first 3 are finally out of the 456 people. The high-end hunters always appear in the form of prey. They are No 16, Big, Beard Sam, number 287, Little Pigeon Ant, number 451, Long-Haired Faye, which is the best of Faye's disguises. Even before the start of the 5th round of the Trust Circle, he was completely unaware of his existence because this round would eliminate 6 players. This is why he had to expose his strength, and the rules of the Trust Circle were very tricky. 9 players need to put on their blindfolds, and the guard will randomly pat a person's shoulder. The chosen player will have to take off his blindfold, and the person who guesses right will be eliminated. And the person who puts the gift box will have to put it in front of the person they trust the most. And the first player to be chosen was number 287, one of the 3, Little Pigeon Ant. At the same time, in order to confuse other players, the 4 guards would walk around the scene until they were behind the ants and then shoot him. And he didn't get up in a hurry after taking off his blindfold, but he picked up his gift box and ran straight to number 418, who had the best relationship. There is no doubt that he has eaten through this rule, so he didn't put the gift box in front of the old man who had a holiday. As the music ended, everyone took off their blindfolds, although the ants were obviously very guilty. But number 418 didn't understand the rules at all. Even when he heard the ant said that he had combed his hair this morning, he aimed at the long-haired Faye and was eliminated in the end. But the 3rd round was chosen by the young man, but he wanted to kill himself and put the gift box in front of the ant. As a former Visa officer, he had already mastered the fire eyes in terms of 10 people. He just had to turn around in the field and ask everyone the same question, and then come straight to the gift box and point to the young man. This move shocked everyone for a moment because he was the first to guess it right. Even the shameless old black man rushed to the back of the line to cool down, and no one dared to put the gift box in front of him and instead chose to pretend to be the soft persimmon. Faye, I didn't know that this move tore off his disguise completely. The strength is obviously no less than the ant's, and what's more surprising is that he was the first to be sent a gift box and said that he understood the other person, and he didn't even need to turn around and just stood in the middle of the stage. But even if Faye has shown absolute strength, some people still think that he is a blind cat who has met a dead rat and this fool is a shameless old black man. It's just that he's so arrogant right now and he's pretending to be a bad guy. In fact, I had long wanted to give it to Faye because since he showed his shameless side on the glass bridge, only Faye did not show any luck from beginning to end. But this time, he did it on his own, because it was now that Faye had decided not to disguise himself. He came straight to everyone and it seemed like a joke to send a beauty. But in fact, it was a warning not to provoke himself. Looking at the old black being eliminated, the most fearful thing was the ant. After all, he had been unable to do it, but he was solved by the most inconspicuous person. At this time, the program group played suspicions that the 2 brushes of Ant and Faye were pretending to ask questions, but in the end, they locked the target on the ant. I don't know if it's because he's in the top 3 and he's shaking and he's lying down and he knows he's in the top 3. Only long hair Faye did the pen because he could enter the top 3. Completely, depending on the choice of the golden hair girl because it was the gift box he put. Just looking at the back of the golden hair girl leaving, the ant felt extremely desperate. After all, Faye was too strong. So who would be the last champion to win the 4.56 million yuan that could change his fate? This version of the game is finally here. The 4.56 million US dollars and the RMB 32.6 million will soon be revealed at the end of the game. First of all, we need to eliminate one person. So even in the face of such a luxurious last dinner, the three of them are not eating well. As Wei Shi uncovers the last main dish, the elimination game also opens the curtain. Although the rules seem very simple, they are very unfair to the ants because one of the three buttons is green. Once selected, you can not only advance directly but also choose one to advance together. This is 1/3 of the chance of advancing for the brothers of long hair and big beard. It instantly becomes 2/3. If you don't believe it, you will be eliminated directly. So the person who chooses to advance is the most dangerous. It seems that no one is willing to take the risk. Ants can only take the lead. In order to prevent the beast from moving, the three armed guards are waiting for the ants to press the key 0, which does not mean to advance or to be eliminated. If the next person chooses red, he will advance. Otherwise, the person who is eliminated will be him. At this time, the high IQ of Fire was shown again. On the surface, he looked like he didn't want to kill each other, but in fact, he was asking all the questions and deliberately pushing the choice to Big Beard Sam. In the end, the other party made a decision to regret his life on the friendship of the brothers. Although it is said so, Sam still stood up and gave himself a 50% elimination rate. But whether his choice was red or green, Fire had no choice. It's a pity that his choice was red and was eliminated on the spot. In the end, Fire and the ant entered the final, but they just got back to the dormitory and were shocked to find that for the sake of this belly, they had to do their best. The two of them were shocked when they came to the door on the second day of the final, but what surprised them was that the rules of the final were very simple. It's all about luck, but for the two of them with high IQ, there's always a way to go. It's just that the direction of the two of them is exactly the opposite. Ants are calculating the order of Fire's first punch and can even win 5 consecutive wins, while Fire is the shape of the key. After all, the fingerprint of the real key must be different from the rest. In the end, after 12 rounds of trial and error, there were only 8 keys left in the box, and Fire finally found the real key. Now, as long as he wins the next round, he can put $4,560,000 in his pocket. It's not a sin to wish that Fire can only pray that the ant makes a mistake, but as the ant picks up a key, Fire knows the big picture.